Continue with the activities in the forum. Now we have the panel on non-state management and foreign trade. We are welcoming Vivian Guerra, the Director of Foreign Trade of MIXEX and Deputy Minister of the Economy and Planning Ministry, Oyosola, together with some members of the non-management sector. Good afternoon. We are this afternoon from Havana, Cuba, of this second Business Forum Cuba 2021, and we will have an update on the measures on the non-state management and their import and export operation. We have our Deputy Minister, Joanny, Vice Minister of the Planning and Economy Ministry, and several economic actors. Some are cooperative members and so on. We will start with the intervention by the Vice Minister, Joanna, who will make a presentation on the improvement of economic actors in Cuba. So good afternoon, Vice Minister, you have the floor. Good afternoon for you and all those with us in the panel. I am thankful for your invitation to attend this forum. I'll give you just some ideas on the changes in the country as to economic actors. There is a presentation on the screen, and the idea is sharing some essential ideas about what's been happening in Cuba with economic actors this year. We had been working since 2020 on the idea that the business world should be expanded based on the economic growth and the provision of our goods and services and the changes of production in the country. There were some actors already operating, but beginning this year we've had new ones, and we have refined some limits for other actors already existing in the economy. At the 2020 close, we had 1,796 state-run companies with 100 joint ventures, also farming cooperatives, 396 non-agricultural cooperatives, and others who are self-employed persons. This year, in May, we approved at the Ministry of Council of Ministers the participation of non-farming cooperatives. So we had the small, medium, and small, micro-sized joint ventures or other types of properties. The idea has to do with structuring the business and production web as these forms of self-employed activities. In many cases, we're working actually as a company without having, without being legal persons as such. With these improvements, all those self-employed persons with more than 3 hired persons should become a legal person as he chooses a non-farming cooperative of any size. In our case, we have conceived that the indicator for classifying these as small, micro, and mid-sized enterprises have to do with the number of employees and having in mind the GDP of Cuba and the number of people in the working age. They have been micro prices to 1 to 10 and mid-size from 36 to 100 employed persons. Those are the numbers of employees to define the size of the company. These standards were passed this year. They include rules to have the participation of new actors in the economy as to their right to have credits, the capacity to have contact with other actors and to be linked to the state-run sector. I mean, all the rights any company will have anywhere. These rules were passed in September, and 2 years after their passing, the country has approved 718 actors, over 600 small private companies, also micro companies, and 16 non-farming cooperatives. So we are just developing this. In our opinion, they will expand our production levels. They will be providing goods and services that were not provided before. They will be linked to the state sector for new productions. And the idea is that these actors are not seen as subsistence economy players, but that they are part and parcel of our economy. We must say the economy is going through a complex situation beginning last year with the tightening of the blockade and the impact of the pandemic and the closing of tourism facilities, and that there's been an economic slowdown. Nevertheless, in spite of being a complex moment, it was evident that we had all the conditions ready for approving these actors under difficult circumstances. Nevertheless, they already existed on their other terms. In our case, we we want the new management forms, cooperative, self-employment, or micro, small, and mid-sized enterprises should be also acceptable. It's very important for us to internationalize companies. As you know, we have complex situations being faced by our economy. One of them is the lack of foreign currency earnings, and everything we can do with the various actors of the economy to increase our goods and services should be good for actors who retain or withhold part of the free convertible currency they earn, and also for the economy in general to have better provision of services and goods. Also, we should say that in our case, there is educated personnel thanks to our education system, and thus we can include those non-state actors that include the technological basis and resources. They are knowledge intensive. These activities might be knowledge intensive with not so much capital investment. The main investment is the talent and knowledge that has been accrued throughout all these years in Cuba. So many small, micro, and mid-sized enterprises and cooperatives that have been passed, approved, that have to do with computing services, automation services, equipment repair, manufacturing activities, and so on. That's also important for us. Another thing that is also very important to us is the role to be played by them in the local sector, in communities. There is a close relation between the local development and the work by self-employed and cooperatives. And small and mid-sized and micro-sized companies, they are domiciled physically there in a specific area, and therefore they are linked to the area, and they provide goods and services to it. Sometimes the taxes they pay benefit directly the municipal government they are operating. In other territories, it is also good because to have this enterprise group of enterprises. The idea behind this development is to have a complementarity between players. You may have competition between state and non-state entities, but also there can be chains, goods and services chains, along which each one contributes with its products or knowledge or raw materials, and at the end that will be reflected significantly on the people's welfare. There are also the regulations for these actors, because for the first time the Cuban law in our system is accepting private ownership as part of the Cuban economic system. We must say that we have to wait for the law 2019. It recognizes private property in the model to start these changes. Before, that was not accepted or included in the law. So, in a favorable way, things have been going in the sense that in all provinces we have these actors. There is a map in the presentation showing that each province already has passed various actors, and in our case, we have had some new elements. Besides this favorable distribution in the country, no, and we also have the present situation where we see that many requests and applications have to do with activities useful for the country, manufacturing products, food production, technological activities. So to us, it will be important to evaluate how each province has been going with this cooperative to produce food or shoes or house appliances and many other things, all of which have to do and help with the technological development of our country, and also that includes knowledge intensive activities. The process is ongoing. After the approval of actors, the state must continue supporting this development, this new group of economic actors through economic and public policy. There are financing policies, social liability policies, also other policies to support them when they have problems. There must be an institutionalization that helps this process to take place as we conceive it. It is a new experience that is going well so far. There's always things to correct or to be improved, but the main idea is that the objective is the same: to bet on the country's economic growth. That's part of the vision for our country in 2030. It is also in our constitution. That's why I thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this panel and talk about these matters. In our case, and particularly to present actors who will describe the experiences that will show and explain the path we have embarked on. There must always, of course, be support for everything that has been approved in the country. Thank you very much for the invitation again. Thank you very much, Vice Minister. It's been a very interesting presentation by Vice Minister Joanna, not only for the actors in this panel, but also for all the persons who are listening to us or watching this panel. I'm sure there will be many questions because this is a measure which, as you said, started in June, and therefore there are many questions. Many people have tried to find information from us or to get information from us because they want to be non-state players. Now we'll have a promotional video describing some of the non-state enterprises providing services. If it is ready, please let's run it.
Aprinter is a trading company of raw materials and intermediate products for the domestic and international market. Our product portfolio facilitates the import export and marketing of wood, resin, stationery, cardboard, paint, glass, and flexible disposable packaging, among other intermediate products. We have competitive advantages to assume a wide range of exports to identified markets in geographic areas such as the Caribbean, America, Europe, and Asia. The construction and tobacco sectors, furniture production, polygraphic and sugar industries, the medicine program, and the basic food basket are some of the destinations that benefit from MAPRINTER's import. The non-state management forms aimed at independent artists, artisans, non-agriculture cooperatives, and self-employed workers are other opportunities that MAPRINTER offers. With more than 58 years of experience in international trade, we are pleased to be the preferred supplier for our customers, always providing a personalized service with quality and trust. MAPRINTER, personalized service with quality and trust.
Maquimpor, empresa comercializadora de objetivos industriales, maquinarias, equipos y artículos de ferretería con más de 50 años de experiencia en la actividad de comercio exterior. Ante el llamado del país a incentivar las exportaciones, Maquimpor potencia las operaciones comerciales con el sector empresarial y extiende sus servicios a las formas de gestión no estatal. Con representaciones en Villa Clara, Holguín y La Habana, gestiona una amplia gama de productos y equipamientos que van desde plantas para procesamiento del arroz, silos y tratamientos de semillas, hasta neumáticos, medios de protección y perfiles y agregados para la fabricación de puertas y ventanas de aluminio, mercancías en consignación, cerrajería, electrodos, motosierras y útiles para todo tipo de trabajo en la agricultura, la industria y la construcción. Maquimpor, compromiso y excelencia del comercio exterior. Transimpor, empresa cubana con más de 50 años dedicados a la importación, exportación y comercialización de equipos, partes, piezas y agregados de la rama automotriz, ligera, pesada y agrícola. Con una amplia experiencia en la actividad de comercio exterior para el sector estatal, ahora amplía sus servicios a las formas de gestión estatal. Agilidad y profesionalidad garantizan nuestros servicios. Transimpor, líder del comercio automotriz al servicio de la economía nacional.
We now resume our afternoon session about non-state forms. We will start saying that on February the 5th, 2020, the Council of Ministers approved the possibility of offering services of import and export to other economic actors, in this case, private entities. Likewise, in June, at Gazette 57th, we published a series of resolutions, which is the main regulatory framework supporting the implementation of these measures. And here you have other resolutions: 112 of the Central Bank of Cuba, 114 from the Ministry of Economy, the 210 of the Ministry of Finance and Prices, and 315, which is the resolution of the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Foreign Investments, governing the actions of the enterprises. This has to do with foreign trade. At present, we have 48 enterprises authorized to engage in this kind of activity. When we implemented these measures, originally there were 37 companies. Here you may see the logotypes of the different companies. These companies specialize in almost all sectors of the economy and production. They offer services for export and import. Up until today, there are more than 25,000 non-state management entities which have approached the different enterprises and ministries asking for information about the possibility of importing and exporting. 7,073 have expressed their intention to sign contracts, and 6,349 contracts have been signed. Of all these big total, there are 219 export contracts. Of them, 115 are for the export of goods and 104 for the export of services. Last year, the goods contracts number were higher. These concentrate particularly in the agricultural sector, where there is a huge potential. We have found as many as 700 and odd persons working to export, and products have varied. Charcoal, peanut tablets, the eco wood, which has become a very interesting export product. And in the case of services, there are many software services. There are others that are related to e-commerce and others in the field of fine arts. In the case of exports, we have several companies engaged in this activity. These are the ones showing much more a stronger activity. These are Victoria de Girón, Cítricos Caribe, Cuba Export, and Frutas Selectas. They devote to the export of agricultural products, but there are others such as Artex and Sitmatel, which have played an outstanding role in all the export contracts that have been signed. If we look at a map to see the contracting procedures in each and every country, in each and every province, almost all of them have signed contracts, with the exception of Holguín, Guantánamo, and the special municipality of Isle of Youth. In the case of Isle of Youth, there is a potential yet to be tapped. Export is a very complex activity. When we speak about export goods, we can either refer to a good or a service, but they need to meet certain international regulations. So to place an export good in the market requires prior work. In the case of imports, we have more than 6,000 export or import contracts signed. Contracts account for $92 million approximately. In this case, the value of these contracts are about $12 million. But there is certainly a very important sector that need and require services and many products. Of these import contracts, I could say that 67% of them, around 4,000 contracts, have been able to meet the needs of the interested persons. Sometimes the products are in Cuba, and of course, we can meet the needs of the client in a very expeditious way because the product would always be in Cuba. As for the other cases, we have to import the products. They usually come by sea, and this takes time. The Vice Minister spoke about the contraction of the economy and the contraction of trade in general in the world, which has been particularly severe during the last year as a result of the pandemic, and in the case of Cuba, as a result of the tightening of the blockade laws against our economy. And in the case of foreign trade, we have also suffered from the burden meant by freights. Many ports have been shut down, many industries have been shut down. There are productions that cannot be exported, they accumulated at the ports, and they have not followed the traditional logistic procedure. This is something unprecedented in the case of the homogeneous mass cargo. Freight's costs have multiplied. It has been estimated that this contraction, the lack of products on the one hand and the increase of the freight costs are affecting the value of goods, and the end user will pay between 11 to 24% more as above the real cost of products. But despite of all that, we are offering services to our non-state management entities. In the case of importing enterprises, we have a list of the ones with the strongest activity. Consumimport is one of them. Consumimport has signed more than 2,000 contracts up until last week, which includes contracts for goods, for big cargoes, as well as for small cargoes. There are others like Maquimport, Maprinter, Solintel, the Cuban Fund of Cultural Goods. But in the case of Solintel, is a company offering services related to the ICTs. And when Solintel started to work, there were many difficulties because there were certain goods, certain spare parts, which were very difficult to buy and bring down to Cuba. All of us who were part of this project received a lot of complaints because that company didn't work properly as expected. And we can say that these actors have played a very important role in our economy, and our companies worked in order to dynamize their work. Solintel created a virtual store. You were able to see some of that in the spot that we just broadcast. And after the creation of that virtual store, they have been able to sign as many as 174 contracts Their working standards have improved with great acceptance among the public, and they are right now working in a very efficient way. Of course, there are always dissatisfactions. There are things that we must improve. There is a need to speed up certain processes, which will, at the end of the day, confer greater efficiency to all of these procedures, so that we can all together help to help in the economic and social development we hope for. This is a graph showing the number of import contracts by provinces. Most of them concentrate in Havana, 4,062 contracts all in all. But we have signed contracts in all provinces. Consequently, some of these companies have started to open offices in other provinces. This is one of the demands they made. I mean, we were very cautious, and according to their demand and acceptance, the companies were authorized to open offices in provinces different from the province where they originally operated. I will conclude by speaking about the evolution of some of our non-state managements and how they have become small and medium-sized enterprises. Up until today, there are 718 small and medium-sized companies approved. 410 of them originated as non-state management form. So this indicates how the different modalities of production have been transforming, referring to the private sector and cooperative sectors. After this update, I would say that last year we introduced this measure, and we have also updated. I would like to talk with some of our guests. To my left, I have Agnes Suarez Milian. I understand that you are betting on the possibility to become a medium-sized company. Producciones Gama is its name, but the most important thing we would like to emphasize here is that Arnang is a self-employed worker. He has been associated to Beca Import. He has, at present, we are starting to work with dishwashing sponges. We bought the machinery, we started to produce, and we have started to distribute these among different store chains. We are trying to combine our productions with other companies to replace imports. The shipping transportation is quite complicated. We are forced to buy products in regions as far as China. In fact, we right now we are bringing in our goods from nearby territories like China and South America. So in the near future, we hope to be able to export. We have already talked about that possibility, but we want to give priority to the national market. These imports from Mexico you are bringing together with Becain. Yes, Meca Impo. Uh, and the truth is that we are doing quite well. I know that you are also selling online. Yes, we are using a web page from Canada for our online sales. We are very young. We started to work last month, and we are in the process of looking for selling channels. We have CIMEX, Balco, Encomix, Sitmatel, but we are trying to expand our selling channels to increase our scope. Thank you very much. The next colleague comes from Prodanco, a self-employed worker. He devotes himself to the manufacturing of paints. He has a store called La Casa de los Colores, the House of Colors. He has imported some raw materials through Quimimport, and he has also associated himself with the industry. He sells paints to 52 enterprises, but his intention is to sell to the entire population. We manufacture paints. As from December last year, we have started to work, and as the director was explaining, we have 52 companies in the country to which we sell. We have been able to import the raw materials through Quimimport. Without them, we would not have been able to put up this business. This has been very good for our project. The importing companies have facilitated the manufacturing of our products. Thanks to that, we can manufacture 10 different paint products. We produce enamel paints, protective paints. This is part of a dream that is growing bigger and bigger by the day. We started to make all the arrangements to become a medium-sized enterprise, and I hope that this opportunity being offered to us by our country could result in better services to the population. We also intend to put up a construction business. So in the case of this virtual store, Casa de los Colores, in what currency do you sell to the people? We are selling paint in national currency. Casa de los Colores is 1 block away from Cuatro Caminos. We hope to see you there. We intend to develop other points of sale around the country. We are assessing the possibility of opening up in Camagüey, Santi Spiritus, the future branch offices of Probanco. We'll see if our product is accepted by the people of those territories. Finally, we have a lady, Dailin Perez Morey. Dailin, you have a small and medium enterprise called Elanova Producciones. You produce face masks, a very important product today. As a result of the COVID pandemic, Daili has told us she intends to manufacture other products. Yes, well, first of all, thank you for the invitation to be here. Elanova is one of the medium-sized enterprises which was created by a group of self-employed workers as from June this year, based on the government's demand to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, we decided to contribute our grain of sand to tackle this pandemic. So we came across the idea of manufacturing face masks. So we associated to a state company under the Ministry of Education called ENAME. We leased the locations and we hired some of its workers. Some of them had become redundant, and we started to produce up until today. We are manufacturing 200 units per minute, more than 2 million so far. At the recently held Fair of Opportunities here in Havana and the meeting with wholesale companies, we have contacted with several companies and entities so that such a necessary product could reach out to the people. We have talked to Helma, Cimex, Transcomercial. We have already held talks to distribute such a demanded product. In the short term, I mean, as from January 2022, we will launch our line for ladies' pads. The project is about to begin to produce linen, accessories, puppets, cushions, textiles, a wide range of products destined to hotels inside and outside Cuba, bed sheets. This mask you bring is manufactured at your company? Yes, yes. Whom have you associated with? We have worked with Becain. We have an excellent opinion of the work. There is an excellent work between providers and ourselves. They have been very supportive in the import of our machinery. We have automated processes, and also to acquire raw material. As my colleague was saying, it is very difficult to bring our raw materials from faraway places, but we have a wonderful relationship. Thank you. Well, here I have another colleague working in a different sector, Javier Alza Valdez. Javier is the operational director of Duflamy. It was the first medium-sized company that was founded. Duflamy has some projects in the Scientific and Technological Park of Havana. His business develops in the world of software. He has signed agreements with almost all exporting companies, including Etexa. Well, Duflamy was a result of a reconversion. We are already a medium-sized enterprise after going through the process established by the country. Today, we continue to export software services. We did that from before as a non-state management form. Today, we do the same as a medium-sized company, taking advantage of the potential explained by the Vice Minister based on the knowledge that has been created in our country. Today, we have seen that the Cuban knowledge potential is very competitive to participate in foreign markets, including the world of informatics services. This has been a very significant experience. We do it through the SOFT, our marketing agency for our exports, and we must say that while at the beginning there were certain difficulties, business went on very smoothly afterwards. We have been able to receive benefits from this business. I said that we have realized that the human knowledge has created a very important export culture. It is not simple to participate in a very competitive market, the European market, including the US market. So our experience has been very positive. Duflaney provides informatics services, and we developed informatic products. We have contractual relations with as many as 30 national companies. We also offer services to all parts of the country. And in the short term, Duflaney will join the technological park of Havana. Today, we are incubating projects for the development of products and services with a capacity for exports, taking advantage of the possibilities offered by the technological park, which will be representing us in foreign markets. So our intentions are pointing in that direction to continue to develop our exports and to open up an export line through the scientific part of Havana. That is a very interesting business among all exports to be able to increase our export products. These would be very helpful for the sustainability of the project. You sell in hard currency, and you can also use these funds to buy the supplies, the inputs that you need. You are going ahead as a locomotive in the world of software. Well, we have tried to combine our efforts, and no doubt the installed capacity in our country has a potential for the export of products and services to international markets. There are many of us. This is a combined efforts among different companies in the country. There is a huge potential, we know it. In terms of services, the most important thing is the human capital. And we already have a know-how. There is a very high-level training in this sector, which makes it possible for business like yours to prosper.
Now we'll have the last but not the least presenter in the panel. Engineer agronomist Funes. He's running a farm called Santa Marta, but he also a credit services cooperative in Artemisa province. So we would like him to tell us a little about imports, about his imports. In his farm, he's doing very new things. He's also a bee producer. He's produces monofloral bee honey, which is highly appreciated in the market. It is very specific. Perhaps you are opting for, you are going ecological. So we would like you to talk about this project and other things. And what's the enterprise you are working with? And in the case of exports, which have been the main barriers you have had to overcome? I mean, give us your story as a manager, a non-state manager. Well, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me and for allowing me to speak here. It's a great pleasure and a great chance to participate in this panel and this event. We know farming is a pending subject in Cuban development. We all hope to make our best for the sake of this sector. I come from academy, from the university. I graduated from the Havana Agricultural Faculty, and I studied abroad. I studied in a Spanish university, and then I got my doctor's degree in the Netherlands. And during that time, I worked in various research institutions. Finca Marta is a project that started to make a contribution, scientific contribution, to the development of farming. For 10 years, or 10 years ago, we started this project. It has gone through various stages, from a moment of much scarcity and many wants related to credits and services cooperative starting stage, but then we began producing things, and then we got some earnings. Those earnings grew for the benefit of the cooperative. We connect ourselves with the markets gradually. The context then, I'm talking in terms of the late 2010s and early 20s, and we expand our projects with a greater impact. We included all the farmers, and we had several activities done. Our product has been appreciated by clients due to stability as to supplies and its quality, and we got more and more customers. We were recognized, and 2 years ago we made a proposal to the Mariel Special Development Zone. It was a little bit out of context, but in the Mariel Zone is including innovation among its goals. So they accepted the proposal. It was enthusiastic about it. The proposal was to multiply the learning process in Finca Marta to expand production. So we began training even with our company law in place inside the Mariel Zone people, and then created a business structure. As we are persons and as we are clients of the zone, nevertheless, we faced a series of difficulties. We could not relate with other companies at the same level. Evidently, now with the new laws, we can relate much better. We have already filed our application for approval of our purpose. Now we are waiting for the notary's office to give us the papers of the company. We start with a small company. We have 20 people in our team, and we are focusing on 4 key elements, which we believe may make our operations more viable. We may relate with many people, private or state-run companies, with 4 main aspects: organization and technology for production. I mean, to produce in a more organized way. When and how and when and where should we produce, or when are we going to harvest it? What will be the production relations that must be in place for this to take place? Second, strategic investment. We know there is a decapitalization in the farming sector in the country. How, in Finca Marta, can we coordinate the supply of resources for farmers who want to work, but they don't have resources to do it many times? Of course, they need various resources. That second pillar has to do with strategic investment, including materials, equipment, infrastructures. Third, logistics. We need a series of logistical processes, and Finca Marta has tried to see to it that the farmers have the plant tools and the seeds at the right time, with a series of supply lines to transport those resources to farmers, also products. Fourth, market. How can we have good market relations and mechanisms, contacts with clients and with companies that provide all types of services? Of course, agriculture as a human activity to stay alive, that is, to feed ourselves, is closely linked to the environment with good environment to live in. And Finca Marta is trying to have a environmentally friendly farming system. I mean, to produce healthy food to feed persons in a good environment. This is a big challenge, but Cuba has a long experience when it comes to working on the ecologically minded farming, environmentally minded farming. If we haven't progressed more, it is just because we needed this new context, new legal context. In Finca Marta, we are really working hard. It is devoted to my mother, who was my professional tutor, and we are committed with ecological farming in Cuba so that our population receive more efficient and healthier farming products. With Fernando's intervention, we have finished this panel of exchanges. Cuba is living and being reborn in the midst of a difficult economic situation in the world, in the midst of a pandemic, and we are betting on economic model that is refined. We work with all economic actors in our country, and this is what we wanted to show to you through this panel. I mean, this necessary combination that we are creating, which requires so much debate and discussion and a lot of interaction. First of all, for the benefit of our people, to meet their needs. We have concluded our interventions from the panel, but are we having questions? Yes, we have questions. Thank you very much, Vivian, to the Vice Minister, and to all the panel members here. We have two questions we have received, and they are the following. What kind of contracts should you have for the quick resupplying for non-state management operations in Cuba? Well, explain that. We think we want our companies or enterprises through various importation models have goods through consignments or through purchases by them from customs warehouses. Owned by foreign companies operating in Cuba to help the small enterprises. We know that many branches in Cuba are playing an active role in this supply activity. There would be consignment contracts from deposits. Other modalities could be used. I mean, companies might develop them as the virtual shops, the e-commerce, and so on. Second question: what ways are you using to pay foreign suppliers? That's an interesting question. When we decide the measure, a series of global agencies, we did it like this. State-run operations would open fully convertible currency accounts in Cuban banks, and based on the deposits to those accounts, payments were made to enterprises, and they then had relations with foreign entities. But because of the tightening of the U.S. blockade and the difficulties with banking transactions we are going through due to those measures that tightened the blockade recently, there was the possibility or the option of paying from abroad using accounts that from which they can pay supplier for the exact value of his goods. And then we went over the feasibility of another thing. I mean, that they can be paid from other accounts that are not belonging to the holder, and that can be used to pay from to make payment, can be used to make payment from abroad. There are certain situations that take place every day. It takes place with Cuban state-run foreign trade operations, and the same happens to them, to persons. They are also being hit by the blockade. When the bank transactions cannot be carried out to pay a supplier or to export, and then you cannot earn from your export because the banking operations are blocked, our routes for payment or collections are blocked, and then the bank may be even sanctioned and so on. But it can be done in these ways. We also try to have a flexible process so that the importation in question can be realized. We use that direct payment form from abroad, and it's been easier. It is less costly to have that way. If you have to go through a third country, it's more expensive. We had those two questions. Two more questions. We are live, and there are many people who have concerns and questions. The following question is this: these new actors, can they partner up with or team up with foreign entities? Yes, these actors, under our foreign investment law, may join. They can create or incorporate any joint venture, because actually our legislation on foreign investments says that these persons may be legal persons. So you have the possibility now, so you have now the possibility as mid or small micro-sized enterprises, you may make use of the foreign investment law. Foreign investors will not be just partners. We have conceived that these are small enterprises with partners that reside in the country. But you may have a new legal person between the foreign investor and the small micro enterprise or the non-farming cooperative. That's something that we have stated as a possibility, so that foreign investment expands, and this may be part of these channels we have today. You may find a foreign partner for this kind of partnership. We should also say that the Cuban legislation includes a whole range of guarantees for foreign investors. That's why it's important to evaluate what our national laws present and have. There is a long range of ways of protecting foreign investments, and that includes a lot of rights. Also, it is an opportunity that we can give to these new players, new actors, that may be part of a partnership with a foreign vendor. How do you conceive financing for these new economic players? There are several modalities, and we must say that these are designs that are being thought of. In the package of rules described by the minister, that is regulatory framework for these changes, there is a regulation by the central bank defining how these new actors may be granted credits, and they may adopt several types of financing for investments or for current operations or capital, working capital. That would be in Cuban currency. In national currency, there is also the possibility through microcredits. They may have freely convertible currency credits. This is a complex situation in case of Cuba. Evidently, the financing in this money must be returned or paid back in foreign currency. So essentially, for the time being, it is granted to exporters. They must have a free convertible currency account open and then have the finance from the bank. But it's just an initial design. We are still examining it. There may be other modalities actually. For example, that we can design in the future small joint ventures of small enterprises, and the state, if participating, might also contribute with capital to that actor. Or in some cases, you may have interests in the state or by the state to provide finance because the activity will be beneficial for the whole country. Initially, we have the initial ways already in place, but other things are being evaluated. There are traditional industries, others are not in existence yet, but we are still working on this financing in foreign currency or pesos. The finance, if in foreign currency, includes other rules, for example, that the enterprise does have the capacity to earn foreign currency so that when it gets the loan, it is in a position to pay it back. Thank you to you all for your participation in this panel this afternoon. We would like to thank you all for being with us in our activities of this forum. We are closing the day, but tomorrow we will have a panel including some of the statistics of the country. Without any further ado, good afternoon. See you tomorrow.